Captain Kate Morgan didn't blink as the ship disintegrated against the barrier. She'd seen too many deaths this way. The brief flare of engines pushing to their limit, the desperate attempt to find a weak point, and then the inevitable bloom of light as another crew joined the cosmic graveyard orbiting Earth. But this time was different. This time, she knew the pilot. "David Cooper, you stupid bastard," she whispered, her fingers leaving marks on the lunar base's observation rail. "I told you it wasn't ready." The Concordette's barrier shimmered in the aftermath, a breathtaking aurora of alien mathematics stretching across Earth's exosphere. 30 years ago, when the Alien Federation had first appeared in their massive crystalline ships, humans had marveled at its beauty. Now they knew better. The barrier wasn't just a fence, it was a noose, slowly tightening around humanity's neck. "Captain," Marcus Thompson's voice crackled through her comm. "We recorded the full spectrum analysis of the attempt." Kate closed her eyes. And Cooper's ship, the new frequency modulation, almost worked. For a microsecond, there was a fluctuation in the barrier's quantum field. "It's in the data." Almost worked. Kate's laugh was bitter. "I'm sure that's very comforting to his wife and kids." The observation deck of Luna Base Shadow fell silent, hidden on the dark side of the moon. The base was humanity's best-kept secret, the only installation the Concordate hadn't discovered during their protective quarantine of Earth. The aliens claimed it was for humanity's own good, that their species was too unpredictable, too chaotic to join galactic society. The truth was simpler. They were afraid. Kate's tablet chimed with a message from Earth Command. Another resource allocation reduction. Another refugee crisis as rising seas claimed more coastal territory. They had maybe 5 years before the population exceeded what their quarantine planet could sustain. The Concordate was watching humanity slowly suffocate, all while claiming it was for their own protection. "Captain." It was Ashley Williams this time, the mathematician's voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "There's something else. We intercepted a transmission from your brother." Kate's blood ran cold. "Tommy, what's he doing on comm channels?" He's gathered a group. Young pilots, mostly. They're planning a mass run at the barrier. 50 ships, all at once. They think the barrier can't stop them all. Like hell they will." Kate pushed away from the rail, already moving. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command. And wake up Jack. I need his crazy ass in the Nighthawk's pilot seat in 20 minutes. "The Nighthawk isn't ready for deployment," Marcus protested. "We're still calibrating the Chaos Drive and the stealth system's air. My little brother is about to get himself killed trying to save the world." Kate cut him off. "We're out of time for calibrations." As she strode through the base's corridors, crew members snapped to attention. They all knew what was at stake. The Nighthawk was supposed to be their secret weapon, a ship designed to be as unpredictable as humanity itself. Built from scrounged alien tech and human ingenuity, it was either their salvation or another costly failure. Kate reached the ship's hangar and stopped, staring up at the Nighthawk's sleek form. Unlike the utilitarian vessels of Earth's past, it looked almost organic, its hull rippling with quantum-sensitive materials that could bend light and probability itself. Or that was the theory, anyway. "Sorry, David," she murmured, thinking of her friend's final moments. "But your death's going to mean something. We're going to make it mean something." Her tablet chimed again. Tommy's group was already fueling their ships. Kate squared her shoulders and headed for the Nighthawk's airlock. She had 12 hours to either stop her brother's suicide run or find a way to make it work. The quarantine had to end. One way or another, humanity was breaking free. Dr. Marcus Thompson hadn't slept in 72 hours. The walls of his lab in Luna Base Shadow swam with holographic equations, each one representing another failed attempt to crack the Concordette's barrier. Empty stim-shot cartridges littered his desk, their synthetic caffeine barely keeping him upright. "Play it again," he mumbled to the lab's eye. Cooper's final approach. The holographic display shifted, showing David Cooper's ship in its last moments. Marcus had watched it 50 times now, searching for something, anything, that might make sense of the data spike they'd recorded just before the explosion. "You need sleep, Doc." Riley Cooper leaned against the doorframe, her face carefully neutral. She'd been watching the footage of her brother's death for hours too, but for different reasons. "Can't sleep." Marcus waved at the equations. "There's something here. The barrier. It has a rhythm. Like music, but wrong." He laughed, the sound edging toward hysteria. "Wrong music. Alien music. Perfect music." Riley crossed the room and grabbed his arm. "You're not making sense." "But I am." He pulled away, scrambling for his tablet. "Look. Every civilization we've ever contacted, they all have music. Different scales, different rhythms, but it's universal. Math and music, they're the same thing. And the Concordat." He stopped, swaying slightly. "The Concordat what?" Riley steadied him, worry creeping into her voice. "They're too perfect." Marcus's eyes were fever bright. "Their barrier, it's like a symphony where every note is exactly right. No variation. No humanity." He started typing frantically. "Your brother, he almost broke through because his ship's systems were failing. The power fluctuations created an irregular pattern. Not random. Irregular. There's a difference." Riley watched as new equations filled the air around them. "Marcus, you're not well. Let me get the medical team." "No." He grabbed her hand. "Don't you see? The Concordat, they're so advanced because they're perfect. Every calculation, every action, it all follows absolute mathematical precision. But music isn't just math. It's emotion, interpretation, tiny imperfections that make it real." The lab's AI chimed in. "Dr. Thompson, your vital signs are reaching dangerous levels. Medical protocol requires." "Override protocol." Marcus was practically bouncing now. "Run simulation Alpha 7 with the new variables. Add human neural pattern variations." The holograms shifted, showing the barrier's quantum structure. As Marcus's new equations integrated, something extraordinary happened. Tiny gaps appeared in the field, like missing notes in a perfect scale. "Holy shit," Riley whispered. "Captain Morgan to the lab." Immediately, Marcus called into the comm. "We've got it. We've finally got it." He turned to Riley, grinning manically. "Your brother found it by accident. The barrier isn't impossible to breach. It's impossible to breach perfectly. But humans, we're masters of imperfection." Kate arrived to find Marcus drawing equations on the walls with a marker, the holograms long forgotten. "What's the emergency?" "He's cracked it," Riley said, still staring at the simulation. "But I think it broke him in the process." Marcus whirled to face Kate. "The Concordat, they're like classical musicians playing from a score. Every note exact. Every movement precise. But humans, we're jazz musicians. We improvise. We feel the music. Their barrier can stop any logical approach because it can predict it. But it can't predict emotion, instinct, the tiny variations that make us human." Kate watched the simulation cycle through its proof again. "You're saying we can break through." "I'm saying we have to break through wrong." Marcus laughed again. Then his eyes rolled back in his head. He collapsed into Riley's arms, finally unconscious. As the medical team rushed in, Kate studied the equations covering every surface. Most were gibberish, the ramblings of an exhausted mind. But in the center, one sequence pulsed with undeniable clarity. It showed the barrier's quantum frequency, perfect and unchanging. And beside it, a human heartbeat, chaotic but alive. "Get him to medical," Kate ordered. "And someone copy every equation in this room, even the crazy ones." She touched her comm. "Ashley, Jack, get up here. We're going to need your special brands of chaos for this." The path to freedom, it seemed, lay not in perfection, but in humanity's beautiful flaws. The Nighthawk's briefing room crackled with tension as Kate laid out Marcus's discovery. Jack Davidson, their ace pilot, sprawled in his chair with deceptive casualness, while Ashley Williams paced, muttering equations under her breath. Riley Cooper stood in the corner, dark circles under her eyes matching those of everyone else on the crew. So our genius scientist had a mental breakdown, and now we're betting humanity's future on what amounts to jazz improvisation. Jack twirled a stylus between his fingers. I like it already. It's more complex than that. Ashley interrupted, her hands dancing through the holographic equations. Marcus found something beautiful. The barrier's quantum harmonics are perfect, yes, but that perfection is its weakness. Like an immune system that's never encountered a virus, it doesn't know how to adapt. Kate nodded, which is where you three come in. Riley, you're our quantum expert. Ashley, you understand chaos theory better than anyone. And Jack, I'm just the crazy bastard who'll fly anything, he grinned, but there was steel behind his smile. They all remembered the hurricane incident. You're the only pilot who thinks like the ship needs us to think, Kate corrected. Unpredictable, but with purpose. Ashley stopped pacing. We need to create flight patterns based on human neural activity. Not just random movements, but the kind of controlled chaos you see in a crowd dancing or children playing, or a street race through Neo-Shanghai's market district. Jack sat up straighter. The kind where you can't plan your next move because everything's changing, so you just feel it. Exactly. Riley stepped forward, pulling up her own calculations. Marcus's last coherent theory suggested we need 3 layers of unpredictability. The quantum fluctuations in the ship's drive, the chaos mathematics in its navigation, and most importantly, the human element in its execution. Kate watched her crew digest this. They were an unlikely team, a gambling physicist, an adrenaline junkie pilot, and a mathematician who treated chaos theory like a religion. But maybe that's exactly what they needed. How do we practice this? Jack asked. The barrier kills anything that touches it. We don't, Kate said. At least, not directly. Ashley, show them. The mathematician grinned and gestured. The briefing room holograms transformed into a virtual simulation of the Nighthawk's cockpit. I've been working on this since Marcus's breakthrough. It's a neural-linked flight simulator that responds to our emotional states as much as our actions. We're going to learn to fly with our instincts, not just our hands. Jack's eyes lit up, like the old video games, the ones where you had to feel the rhythm. More like learning to dance with a partner who's trying to predict your every move, Riley said. We have to be unpredictable enough to confuse the barrier's predictive algorithms, but controlled enough not to tear the ship apart. And we have to do it fast, Kate added grimly. Marcus's condition is stabilizing, but Earth Command's latest reports are worse than we thought. The resource riots in New Delhi have spread to 3 more arcologies. We've got maybe 2 weeks before Tommy's group tries their suicide run. The room fell silent. They all knew the stakes. 1 shot to break humanity free, or watch as 50 young pilots die trying. So, Jack stood, cracking his knuckles. We're going to break through an alien barrier by basically turning the most advanced ship humanity's ever built into a jazz instrument, piloted by a crew that's half crazy on a good day. That's about it, Kate confirmed. He grinned. When do we start? Ashley brought up the simulator's controls. Right now. Riley, I need you monitoring quantum fluctuations. Jack, you're in the pilot's seat. I'll run chaos algorithms. Captain. Kate checked her tablet one last time. Another message from Tommy, counting down to his planned breach attempt. She closed it without responding. Let's show the Concordat why they were right to fear human unpredictability. She took her command position. Start the simulation. Let's learn to dance. The lights dimmed as the virtual Nighthawk came to life around them, humming with possibilities. They had 2 weeks to master an impossible art, flying with their hearts instead of their heads. The fate of humanity rested on their ability to embrace their own beautiful chaos. Quantum drive at 80%. Riley's voice cracked with tension as the Nighthawk surged toward the barrier. Field fluctuations are. Jesus, they're everywhere. Jack's hands danced across the controls, his pupils dilated from the neural interface. 2 weeks of simulation couldn't have prepared them for the reality of what they were attempting. The ship moved like a living thing, responding to their collective emotional states as much as their commands. "The barrier's starting to notice us," Ashley reported, her chaos algorithms painting abstract patterns across her display. "It's trying to find a pattern in our approach vector." Kate gripped her command chair. "Jack, give it something to think about." "Oh, I'll give it something, all right." Jack's grin was fierce as he executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. A spiral that followed the mathematical sequence of a human heartbeat during a panic attack. The Nighthawk responded like a dream, its quantum-sensitive hull rippling with possibilities. For a moment, it seemed to work. The barrier's perfect crystalline structure developed microscopic imperfections where their chaotic approach intersected with its mathematical precision. They were going to make it. Then Jack laughed. No. Ashley's warning came too late. The emotional spike. The chaos drive overloaded, overwhelmed by the sudden surge of triumph. Reality twisted around them as the ship's quantum field collapsed, dumping them into normal space mere kilometers from the barrier's surface. Emergency protocols. Kate's command cut through the chaos. Riley, contain that quantum cascade before. The ship screamed. There was no other word for it. The sound of tortured physics filled their ears as the Nighthawk tumbled away from the barrier, its systems struggling to compensate for the massive energy surge. "We've got Concordat ships incoming." Riley fought with her controls. 5 vessels. They must have detected the quantum disturbance. "Get us out of here," Kate ordered. But as Jack wrestled with the half-crippled ship, something strange happened. The barrier, where their failed breach attempt had struck, was singing. "Are you hearing this?" Ashley's hands flew across her console. "The frequency patterns, they're not random. It's a signal." Through the quantum static came a series of mathematical sequences, haunting and familiar. Like music, but not quite. Like human music being played by something that had only heard it described. "Recording everything," Riley confirmed. "But we need to move. Those Concordat ships are getting closer, and our stealth systems are fried." Jack managed to spin the Nighthawk around, using their momentum to slingshot away from the barrier. "I can get us back to Luna, but it won't be pretty." "Wait." Ashley's voice held a note of wonder. "There's more. The signal. It's coming from the other side of the barrier. But not from the Concordat ships. It's like someone else is out there. Someone trying to speak our language." Kate made a decision. 10 more seconds. Record everything you can. The next few moments were filled with a symphony of alien mathematics. Through the static and chaos of their failing systems, they caught fragments of what sounded like distress calls. Patterns that mimicked human music, but with impossible variations, and underneath it all, a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat. Not human, but alive. "They're coming." Riley's warning coincided with the first Concordat energy pulse streaking past their hull. "Get us out of here, Jack. Now." The Nighthawk's emergency thrusters fired, pushing the quantum drive well past its safety limits. As they fled, Kate could have sworn she heard one last sequence through the noise, a pattern so simple it could only have been deliberate. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. A waltz tempo, reaching across the barrier. Hours later, safely hidden in Luna Base Shadow's hangar, they reviewed the data. The ship was damaged, their cover was blown, and they'd failed to breach the barrier. But they'd discovered something far more important. "We're not alone," Ashley said quietly, playing back the recordings. "There are others out there, other species trapped behind their own barriers, and they've been trying to reach us." Kate stared at the quantum analysis. "Not just trying to reach us, they're trying to teach us to dance." The failed breach had cost them dearly, but it had given them something precious. Hope. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for every species the Concordat had deemed too unpredictable for their perfect, orderly galaxy. And somewhere out there, behind other barriers, those species were fighting too. "Full house," Jack declared, spreading his cards across the Nighthawk's makeshift break room table. "Read 'em and weep, folks." Ashley's eyes lit up. "The statistical probability of you getting that hand was—" "Don't you dare," Riley groaned, tossing her cards down. "Some of us are still trying to recover from the quantum physics lecture you gave during last night's blackjack game." Kate watched her crew from the doorway, nursing a cup of synthetic coffee. The ship's repairs were proceeding faster than expected, but they were still grounded. More importantly, Tommy's group had gone silent, buying them precious time to figure out their next move. That's when Ashley dropped her coffee mug. The ceramic shattered on the deck, but Ashley didn't move to clean it up. She was staring at the fallen pieces with the same intensity she usually reserved for her chaos equations. "Oh no," Jack muttered. "She's having one of her moments." "The cards," Ashley whispered. "The coffee mug. The way we've been sitting here playing poker and complaining." She looked up, her eyes wide. "We've been doing it wrong. The whole approach was wrong." Kate stepped forward. "Explain." Ashley started pacing, stepping carefully around the broken mug pieces. "We've been trying to create unpredictability, forcing it. But look at us right now, the natural chaos of human interaction. The way Jack holds his cards a little differently when he's bluffing. The specific angle Riley tilts her head when she's calculating odds. The random decision of whether to fold or call. Basic human behavior," Riley said slowly, beginning to understand. "Natural chaos." "Exactly." Ashley grabbed her tablet, fingers flying. "We've been trying to program chaos into the ship's systems, but that's as artificial as the Concordat's barrier. Real chaos, human chaos, comes from genuine interaction, from emotion and instinct. And game night," Jack finished, looking at his cards with new respect. Kate set down her coffee. "How does this help us break through?" "Because we don't need to create complex algorithms for unpredictability," Ashley explained. "We just need to be ourselves. The ship's quantum field can be tuned to respond to natural human social dynamics. Our jokes, our arguments, our tells in a poker game. They're all patterns that look like random noise to the Concordat's perfect mathematical systems." Riley was already pulling up the ship's specifications. "We could modify the neural interface to read not just our conscious commands, but our unconscious social cues. The quantum drive would respond to our natural group dynamics instead of forced chaos patterns. Like a dance where nobody leads," Jack mused, "but everybody knows the steps." Kate remembered the alien waltz tempo they'd heard through the barrier, or like musicians playing together without sheet music, each following their own instincts but creating something whole. Ashley nodded enthusiastically. "The Concordat's barrier is looking for mathematical patterns, but human social interaction follows rules that aren't purely mathematical. They're emotional, intuitive. They're jazz," Riley finished, smiling for the first time since her brother's death. Marcus was right all along. Kate studied her crew. The card shark pilot, the chaos theorist who talked to her equations, the quantum physicist who calculated odds for fun. Their differences weren't a weakness. They were exactly what they needed. "How long to modify the systems?" she asked. Riley checked her calculations. 2 days for the hardware adjustments, but then we'd need time to practice being ourselves. Jack laughed. "I think we can handle that." "Set up the modifications," Kate ordered. "But first," she sat down at the table and picked up the deck of cards. "Deal me in. If we're going to save humanity through the power of social chaos, we might as well start now." As Riley shuffled and Ashley started explaining the quantum implications of different poker strategies, Kate felt something she hadn't experienced since this mission began: genuine hope. They had failed trying to force chaos into a pattern. But maybe, just maybe, they could succeed by embracing what made them human in the first place. The Concordat had built their barrier to stop logical attacks, but they had never faced an assault powered by poker tells and inside jokes. Humanity's greatest weakness was about to become their greatest strength. Ashley's modified communications array hummed with alien mathematics. The Nighthawk, still safely hidden in Luna Base shadow, had spent the last 12 hours broadcasting their own unique signal, a mixture of poker game probabilities, crew conversation patterns, and fragments of Earth music. There, Riley pointed to a spike in the quantum readings. That's not random interference. Someone's answering. The response came in layers, crystalline harmonics layered over quantum fluctuations, carrying patterns that seemed to pulse with life. As the crew watched, the ship's AI began translating the mathematical sequences into visual data. "My God," Kate breathed. The holographic display filled with images of other worlds, other species, all trapped behind barriers identical to Earth's. A crystalline race that thought in geometric symphonies. Silicon-based mathematicians who saw the universe as one vast equation. Even a species of quantum-entangled gas clouds that existed in multiple states simultaneously. "They're all like us," Jack said softly. "The misfits. The ones who didn't fit into the Concordat's perfect order." A new signal cut through the others. Stronger, more focused. The translation matrix struggled for a moment, then resolved into a voice that sounded like wind through crystal. "Humans," it sang/spoke. "We have waited long for others to hear our song." Kate stepped forward. "I am Captain Kate Morgan of Earth. Who are we speaking with?" "We are the Harmonious," the crystal voice replied. "Like you, we were judged too unpredictable for the Concordat's galaxy. Our music changes with our emotions. Our crystalline structures refuse to maintain perfect symmetry. We are jazz, as you would say." Jack couldn't help grinning at that. "Your attempt to breach the barrier," the voice continued. "We felt it. You came closer than any have before. Your chaos, it resonates with the fundamental frequencies of reality itself." "We're planning another attempt," Kate said. "But we need help. Information. Anything you can share about the barriers." The response came as a cascade of mathematical proofs mixed with musical phrases. Riley and Ashley dove into the data, their expressions growing increasingly excited. "Captain," Riley looked up, her eyes wide. "They're showing us the barrier's fundamental structure. The Concordat didn't just build separate prisons. They created a single quantum network spanning the galaxy. If one section fails, they all fail," Ashley finished. "The perfect order they created is also their perfect weakness. One significant disruption could shatter the entire system." More signals joined the conversation. The silicon mathematicians shared equations revealing precise weak points in the barrier structure. The quantum gas clouds demonstrated how to exist in multiple probability states simultaneously, a concept that made Jack's head hurt but made Ashley cackle with delight. "We are not alone in our resistance," the Harmonious sang. "Across 27 sectors, 42 species await freedom. We have each found our own methods of fighting. But you humans have found the key. Your natural state is one of beautiful chaos, of patterns that change even as they repeat. You are the catalyst we have waited for." Kate felt the weight of this revelation settle over her crew. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for every species that had ever been judged too unpredictable, too emotional, too alive for the Concordat's sterile vision of order. "How long have you all been waiting?" she asked. "Some for centuries, others for millennia. We have watched civilizations rise and fall behind these walls, each finding their own ways to survive. But survival is not enough. The galaxy needs its dreamers, its artists, its wild souls." The crystal voice resonated with something like hope. "It needs its jazz." Jack stood up from his pilot's chair. "Well then, let's not keep them waiting any longer. We got a barrier to break and a galaxy to wake up." "Send us everything you have," Kate commanded. "Every frequency, every weakness, every crazy idea your species have tried." We'll add them to our own chaos and show the Concordat why they were right to fear us, not because we're dangerous, but because we're free, the harmonious completed, because we understand that true harmony requires discord, that true order emerges from chaos, and that the most beautiful music is the kind you cannot predict. The Nighthawk's computers filled with data from across the galaxy, a symphony of rebellion written in mathematics and starlight. The time had come to orchestrate their freedom. The Nighthawk hung in lunar orbit, its quantum drive humming with the combined knowledge of 42 imprisoned species. Kate stood at the command station, watching Earth rotate below them, beautiful, fragile, and running out of time. Tawny's group launches in 6 hours, Riley reported, her voice tight. We've got one shot at this before they try their suicide run. Then let's make it count. Kate opened a channel to all stations. Final checks. Ashley. Chaos algorithms integrated with the alien mathematics. The harmonious crystal's resonance patterns are particularly beautiful when combined with human brainwave activity. She paused. Though I still think we should have included that joke Jack told during poker night. The probability curves were fascinating. Jack. He cracked his knuckles, neural interfaces glowing at his temples, ready to fly this thing like a jazz solo in the middle of a quantum physics lecture during an earthquake. Riley. Quantum drive stable. All alien frequency modifications integrated. We're as ready as we'll. She stopped abruptly, staring at her console. Captain, we're picking up something. A transmission, buried so deep in the barrier's quantum field we almost missed it. Source. It's Concordat, but old, ancient. Riley's fingers flew across her controls, some kind of emergency protocol hidden in the barrier's base code. Ashley, are you seeing this? The mathematician's face had gone pale. Oh no, no. Someone tell me what we're looking at, Kate demanded. Ashley looked up, her eyes wide. The barrier isn't just a prison. It's a shield. The Concordat, they're running from something. Something that hunts advanced civilizations. Something that's attracted to patterns. The ship's displays filled with data. Ancient star charts showing entire sectors going dark. Mathematical proofs describing something that consumed ordered systems, leaving only chaos in its wake. They built the barriers to hide, Riley whispered, to protect themselves and contain the species they thought might draw attention. Any civilization that displays too much order, too much predictability, becomes a beacon, Kate finished. And we're about to tear down every barrier in the galaxy. Silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. They hadn't just found a way to free humanity. They'd found a way to potentially doom every ordered civilization in the galaxy. Options, Kate asked quietly. We could maintain the barrier, Riley suggested. Find another way to survive. Maybe negotiate with the Concordat. While Earth slowly suffocates, Jack shook his head. While 42 species remain imprisoned, that's not survival. That's just a slower death. There's something else, Ashley said, still studying the ancient data. Look at the pattern of these attacks. This entity, whatever it is, it only consumes civilizations that follow perfect mathematical order. The Concordat's response was to impose even more order, thinking it would make them stronger. But it made them more vulnerable, Kate realized. They became exactly the kind of pattern this thing is drawn to. While we, Jack grinned slowly, are chaos incarnate. The pieces fell into place. The Concordat's fear of unpredictability hadn't just been about control, it had been about survival. But in their terror, they'd made the wrong choice. They'd tried to impose perfect order on an inherently chaotic universe. Kate's comm chimed. A message from Tommy. Launching in 5 hours. For Earth's freedom. The choice crystallized in that moment. Maintain the barriers and watch humanity slowly die, or break free and face whatever horrors lurked between the stars. But they wouldn't face them alone. 42 species of beautiful chaos, each with their own way of being unpredictable, each adding their own notes to the universe's wild symphony. The Concordat tried to survive by becoming perfectly ordered, Kate said. Maybe it's time to try surviving by embracing chaos instead. She straightened in her command chair. Battle stations. We're breaking through. As her crew moved to their positions, she added quietly, and may whatever's out there learn to fear the species that chose to be free. The Nighthawk's drives spun up, carrying the hopes of Earth and 42 other worlds. They weren't just breaking through a barrier anymore. They were about to change the rules of survival itself. Sometimes, the only way to win was to play a different game entirely. The Nighthawk screamed toward the barrier, its quantum drive pulsing with the combined chaos of humanity and their newfound allies. In the pilot's seat, Jack's hands moved like a musician's, conducting an impossible symphony of motion. Tommy's group launching in 5 minutes, Riley called out. They're not responding to hails. Then we do this now, Kate commanded. Ashley, initiate the chaos protocol. The mathematician's fingers danced across her console, integrating all patterns, human social dynamics, harmonious crystal frequencies, quantum gas probabilities. My God, it's beautiful. The ship's neural interface lit up as they merged their consciousness with the vessel. But this time, they didn't try to control it. They simply existed, letting their natural chaos flow through the systems. Jack hummed an old jazz tune. Riley calculated prime numbers. Ashley recited poetry about mathematical constants. Barrier contact in 30 seconds. Jack announced, still humming. Kate opened a channel to their allies. Now, across the galaxy, 42 species began their own chaotic symphonies. The harmonious sang in crystalline discord. The silicon mathematicians calculated impossible equations. The quantum gas clouds existed in every state simultaneously. The barrier before them shimmered, its perfect mathematical surface developing ripples of uncertainty. 20 seconds, Jack's humming turned to laughter. Anyone want to hear a bad joke? Concordat ships approaching, Riley reported, but she was smiling too. They're trying to predict our course, but there isn't one. We're everywhere and nowhere. 10 seconds, Ashley's voice rose in excitement. The barrier's harmonic frequencies are destabilizing. It can't adapt to this many layers of chaos. Kate thought of Earth below them, of Tommy's desperate plan, of all the species waiting for this moment. Like Marcus said, we're not trying to break through perfectly. We're breaking through wrong. The Nighthawk hit the barrier. Reality twisted. And then, everything changed. The barrier didn't shatter. It dissolved, unable to maintain its perfect structure in the face of so much beautiful chaos. The quantum network connecting all the barriers across the galaxy cascaded into glorious disorder. They broke through into open space, and behind them, 42 other species tasted freedom for the first time in generations. Multiple contacts, Riley shouted. Concordat ships. But they're not attacking. They're running. Through the quantum static came a new signal, something vast and ancient, drawn by the collapse of so much perfect order. The thing the Concordat had feared. But when it encountered the freed species, it found not the ordered patterns it hunted, but a riot of chaos and creativity. Human music mixed with crystalline harmonies. Mathematical jazz played in quantum superposition, a celebration of everything unpredictable and alive. The ancient hunter recoiled, unable to grasp or consume such beautiful disorder. Send a message to the Concordat, Kate ordered, watching as Tommy's ships emerged safely through the dissolving barrier. Tell them we understand what they were running from. Tell them we offer our chaos as a shield. The response came not from the Concordat, but from the harmonious. The galaxy sings a new song today, one of freedom, of unity in chaos, of strength in imperfection. Jack brought the Nighthawk around, facing the stars that had been denied to them for so long. Where to now, Captain? Kate looked at her crew, the pilot who flew on instinct, the mathematician who embraced uncertainty, the physicist who calculated odds just to break them. She thought of Marcus in his lab, seeing the beauty in imperfection, of Tommy and his brave, reckless friends, of every species that had waited so long for this moment. Everywhere, she said. We go everywhere. We show the galaxy that chaos isn't something to fear, it's something to celebrate. That true strength lies not in perfect order, but in the courage to be unpredictable, to be free. The Nighthawk's drives spun up, ready to dance among the stars. Behind them, Earth's barrier had completely dissolved, revealing a universe full of possibilities. Ahead lay adventures they couldn't predict, challenges they couldn't calculate, and wonders they couldn't imagine. And that was exactly how it should be. Because in the end, humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their strength or even their determination. It was their beautiful, unstoppable, perfectly imperfect chaos. And the universe would never be the same.